new century, a new sensibility, and for many Jewish immigrants, finding their way from Eastern Europe into the very heartland of America, a new home in a nearly unpronounceable Midwestern city by the name of Indianapolis. By the first decade of the 20th century, Indianapolis, with a population of 200,000, was the fastest growing post-Civil War city east of the Mississippi. A central junction point for the nation's railroads, the capital city's booming economy lured thousands of Jewish huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Upon arriving, they were met by second and third generation Jews whose German forebears were the first to settle Indianapolis in the 1850s and 60s. Seeking to provide for the welfare and the spirit of the city's needy new arrivals, 3 community leaders arose to consolidate the scattered and sundry aid programs into a single new entity. These Jewish gentlemen also faced the problem of constantly knocking on the same doors as they each sought to raise money for various out-of-town Jewish charities that they individually supported. The 3 founding fathers, Saul Kaiser, Henry Rao, and Louis Neuberger, sought out the city's oldest Jewish social service agency, the Hebrew Ladies Benevolent Society, and explained their vision to them. They foresaw the society evolving into an entirely new organization that would stitch together support for both national organizations, such as the Jewish Chautauqua, the Cleveland Orphans Home, and the Montefiore Home for the Aged, and also care for the needs of the Jewish immigrant families newly arrived in Indianapolis. With some misgivings, the ladies gave their assent at a public meeting held in 1904. The founders attracted the fervent support of a new young rabbi, Morris Feuerlicht, who had recently taken over the pulpit at the city's oldest synagogue, the Indianapolis Hebrew Congregation. Rabbi Feuerlicht and founders Kaiser, Rao, and Neuberger selected the name the Jewish Federation, and it became the first such federation ever established by any American Jewish community of comparable size. During those early years, the Jewish Federation, located at 821 South Meridian Street in the Nathan Morris House, was primarily a charitable society, dispensing coal, groceries, and money for rent, locating errant husbands who had abandoned their wives, feeding and housing transients, and making small loans to immigrants who wished to set up a stand at the city market. As trainloads of immigrants arrived in the city, fundraising for the Jewish needy began picking up steam. Although the fledgling federation fell 40% short of its goal for its initial campaign, it persevered and managed to raise $5,541. Over half the money raised was allocated to local causes, with the balance sent out of town to groups like the Denver Tuberculosis Hospital, groups that no longer felt the need to conduct their own fundraising in Indianapolis, thanks to the efficiencies created by the Jewish Federation concept. The minutes of early Federation meetings tell many a stirring story of immigrant settlement and relief, such as a loan to a new arrival from Poland to establish a struggling business that opened the door to future family stability, and a grant to send 2 tons of coal to a needy family on Union Street. These minutes also chronicle the early Federation's broader outlook as it bestowed gifts to numerous non-sectarian groups such as the Boys Club, the Summer Mission for Sick Children, and other worthy causes. The concept of federated giving spread throughout the country and was emulated and adopted by such non-sectarian entities as the War Chest, the Community Way, Red Feather, Community Chest, and the United Way. During the First World War, under the inspired leadership of Executive Director George Rabinoff, the Federation expanded its scope, beginning with services to military personnel stationed at Fort Harrison, and soon including athletics, education, and family services in the new communal building on West Morris Street, which served as a center for the Jewish community. Mindful of the Jewish needs around the country and around the world, Rabinoff worked with the Federation's early lay leaders to form the Jewish Welfare Fund to raise money and allocate financial support to national and overseas agencies. Needs at home were abundant as well. In the 1920s, 30% of white males in Indiana were members of the Ku Klux Klan, including D.C. Stevenson, the Grand Dragon of the KKK, a man who declared, "I am the law" in Indiana. During this period, the Jewish Federation was fortunate to have as its president Gustav Ephraimson, whose 2 terms totaling 23 years led Indianapolis Jews through these difficult KKK years, as well as the Great Depression. From the 1920s on, the Federation's mission to improve the overall quality of Jewish community life was undertaken by several constituent agencies that the Federation managed and supported. One of the first was known as the Old Folks' Home. Located on the city's south side, the facility had been operated by the National Council of Jewish Women since 1903. In 1925, it became an autonomous constituent agency of the Federation. Through the generosity of a Federation activist, Louis Borenstein, the home was relocated to 3516 Central Avenue. The United Hebrew Schools, formed in 1911, became an agency of the Federation in 1924 and was renamed the Jewish Educational Association. Over the years, it was this agency that became entrusted with a wide range of Jewish education for our children. In 1929, Jewish Social Services was created to meet the social welfare needs of our community. Renamed Jewish Family and Children's Services in 1969, this agency oversaw adoptions, assisted families in distress, and resettled immigrants through the early 1990s, when its programs were absorbed by the JCC. As the Jewish population began to move north, the communal building could no longer serve as a convenient community center. Thanks to a $50,000 bequest made by Raphael Kirschbaum, in 1924 the Federation purchased a new building at 2314 North Meridian Street. For the next 30 years, the Kirschbaum Center was the home to the Jewish Community Center. After World War II, under the directorship of Sidney Kahn, the Federation and the Jewish Welfare Fund were merged in 1948 into the Jewish Welfare Federation. The first campaign under the new structure raised over $1 million for the first time. More than 60% of these funds were allocated to overseas and national agencies. This pattern of sharing support for local and global services has persisted to the present day and was adopted by federations across America. With the founding of the State of Israel in May of 1948, the money allocated to overseas needs by the Jewish Welfare Federation took on a new significance. Dollars raised by the annual campaign now help to establish schools, build housing, provide for agriculture and forestation, and a broad scope of social needs to build the new Jewish homeland. As the Federation turned 50 in 1955, under Director Oscar Mincer, it conducted a comprehensive community survey to measure the needs of Jewish families in Indianapolis. Those results guided the community's path and established the Federation's priorities for a generation to follow. Frank Newman's tenure during the 1960s and 70s saw unprecedented growth in fundraising and in the expansion of services.
Our task is to meet the needs of Jewish people wherever they exist. And that's a worldwide job, overseas, Israel, and here at home.